The Dallas Mavericks get a 127-122 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is the Gray Area Kevin Gray of 105.3 The Fan. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel by hitting that subscribe button right here for Kevin Gray Sports. The Dallas Mavericks win their third game in their last 4 tries, including their second straight win, as they get a terrific performance from Kristaps Porzingis, who was the defensive player of the game, having 6 blocks to go along with his 27 points. Luka Doncic scoring 14 of his 26 points in the fourth quarter in the last 10 minutes and 22 seconds of the fourth quarter to help stave off the Minnesota Timberwolves to get themselves the 127-122 win. Josh Richardson had a terrific basketball game himself as he continued to play well for the Dallas Mavericks, as he had 8 assists on the night for this Mavericks basketball team. This is a team that had to stave off a hot Malik Beasley late. He hit 6 3-pointers and scored 22 points in the fourth quarter alone to get this game within 3 points, after the Dallas Mavericks at one point had a 25-point lead in this basketball game. This is another reason why you want to be happy about the win for the Dallas Mavericks, but at the same time, still learning how to close out games even against poor basketball teams such as the Minnesota Timberwolves is something that the Mavs still need to learn. I asked Luka Doncic after the game about still this team learning how to close out games, even though he scored 14 of his 26 in the fourth quarter. Here's what Luka Doncic had to say after the game was over with.
Hey, Luka, had 14 of your 26 in that last 10-22 there. What are you guys learning about closing games out and getting better with that game in and game out and trying to be better closing out games?
I mean, for us, it's whatever we have to do to win, Obviously, today they went on a run in the fourth quarter. But right now it doesn't matter, just that we got to win. So I think that's the point.
So Luka Doncic saying, look, the most important thing and the point of this whole thing is to get wins. And that's exactly what the Dallas Mavericks did on the strength of a 43-point first quarter, outscoring the Minnesota Timberwolves 43-22 in the first quarter. That was buoyed by Kristaps Porzingis, who had probably his best game of the season, his most active game of the season. As I mentioned, the defensive player of the game with 6 blocks. He had 15 points in the first quarter alone, set the tone on both the offensive and defensive end for the Dallas Mavericks. And what you liked about Kristaps Porzingis' game in this particular matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves was the variety of game that he shows throughout this entire basketball game. He was hitting 3-point shots from deep. He hit a 34-foot 3-point shot early in this basketball game. He was driving to the basket. He was cutting. He was doing a lot of the things that you would like to see Kristaps Porzingis do, especially given the talents that he has in terms of the variety of his offensive game. I asked Kristaps Porzingis about that after the game with respect to how he is feeling about his rhythm, a guy who has talked about in recent days how much more he has wanted to play and get rhythm in the first quarter, playing nearly 9 minutes he did in this particular game. Here's what Kristaps Porzingis had to say about that first quarter performance there.
Hey, KP, you've talked about playing longer stretches in the first quarter. You played nearly 9 minutes in this first quarter. How did you feel about your rhythm and your aggressiveness starting out tonight's game?
Yeah, much better. I'm just more calm when I know that I'm not, coming out early. And for me as a big, I just feel better when I'm playing longer stretches, because I don't have the ball in my hands the whole time, and I have to get in that rhythm and find my opportunities and find my situations. So it's definitely working better. And also I'm just spending more time on the court, playing more games with these guys, and all of that adding up. I think it's coming together, and we're playing better basketball.
So Kristaps Porzingis obviously playing in longer stretches in the first quarter as he did tonight, getting his rhythm going early on in basketball games. And one of the things that we talked about from him when he was coming back from his ACL injury last year was that he was staying engaged on the defensive end as his offensive game started to come along. It's been a little bit more in reverse this time around, as more of his offensive game has started to round into form, as his defense has started to round into form, and tonight playing his best game on the defensive end, as I mentioned, with those 6 blocks, being the anchor, the shot alterer, and providing the kind of rim protection that the Dallas Mavericks need from him all season long. You heard him in that clip talking about playing against a traditional 5, not necessarily being able to have to defend different positions the way that he did against the Golden State Warriors. So for Kristaps Porzingis, a big confidence boost in a game where the Dallas Mavericks saw fans in the stands for the very first time this season. Healthcare workers, safety workers, first responders who were vaccinated had a chance to watch this Dallas Mavericks team be able to put on a show, especially in the first half, especially more so in the first quarter. It was pretty even in the second and third quarters, where the Minnesota Timberwolves actually outscored the Mavs 29-28 and then 26-24 in the second and third quarters. But then things got interesting in the fourth quarter. It seemed like the Mavericks were on their way to a comfortable win, but their offense at times, especially in the fourth quarter with turnovers, uncharacteristic mistakes, allowed the Minnesota Timberwolves to get back into this game to the point where, yes, Malik Beasley was hitting a bunch of tough shots, especially in the fourth quarter from the three-point line. At one point was 6 of 6 from the three-point line before finally missing one to finish 6 of 7 from 3, but he also had 22 points, was all over the place for the Minnesota Timberwolves in this basketball game, who was shorthanded without Karl-Anthony Towns. D'Angelo Russell had to leave this game due to knee soreness. And this is a game that, yes, the Mavericks needed to win to continue to build the momentum. But at the same time, if you're a Mavericks fan, you didn't like the way that this game necessarily finished, especially after how you saw them dominate in the first quarter with the variety of shot making that they had, the ability to be able to score, especially with Kristaps Porzingis playing the way that he was in this basketball game. Luka Doncic finishing with 26 points in this basketball game. And as Rick Carlisle has talked about, this team needs to continue to improve defensively. They did so in the first half when you looked at what they did, only giving up 51 points after racing out to a 71-51 lead at halftime, but giving up 45 points in the fourth quarter to allow this game to get close is not something that you necessarily want to see from a Mavericks team that's trying to build momentum going forward. I asked Rick Carlisle after the game with respect to Kristaps Porzingis how he felt about his game and the aggressiveness that he came out with in the first quarter to help set the tone for the Mavericks. Here is what Rick Carlisle had to say about what he liked about Kristaps Porzingis' performance in this basketball game.
Yeah, I really like obviously the opening of the game, the ball movement and the defense. Everything was very, very good. The second and third quarters were fine. We didn't close either one of them great. And then the fourth, pretty simple. We gotta do a better job closing out games. This is an experience we're going to have to learn from. We had a similar thing happen in Atlanta a couple of games ago. We got Atlanta coming back in here on Wednesday, and hey, we're a young team that has got to take. It's just simply got to learn from these situations.
All right, Kevin Gray.
And Coach Kristaps came out aggressive in the first quarter with 15 points. He's talked about in recent days playing longer stretches to get himself into rhythm. What did you like about his first quarter performance there?
Everything. Yeah, he was great. He was making shots. He was also moving the ball beautifully and rolling and cutting beautifully, which opened up other guys. So, it's a real positive thing. And hey, it's clear that as each game goes on, he everything is getting better and more the way he wants it and the way we want it.
So Rick Carlisle saying he liked, quote unquote, everything from Kristaps Porzingis in that first quarter, where he was able to put on an offensive display. As we mentioned, the 15 points that he had in that first quarter alone, being able to set the tone for the Dallas Mavericks with respect to how he played. As I mentioned, he played well throughout this entire basketball game. And look, these are the kinds of ebbs and flows that you've seen throughout this season. A team that has gone through its COVID paces with guys like Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell provided some really good energy tonight for the Dallas Mavericks also. This team has been through a lot. And yes, you have to beat the teams that you're supposed to, but the confidence building that the Mavericks are starting to put together a little bit, winning 3 out of their last 4 games, is something that they needed for their own psyche after being blown out by teams like Utah, by the Golden State Warriors, and others. This is a team that needs to string together some wins, especially being able to be at home for the next several basketball games, to give them the kind of confidence that this is a team who we saw make the Western Conference playoffs last year, although be it losing in the first round to the Los Angeles Clippers, that this is a team that can start to learn how to win and close out basketball games. Again, you didn't like the way that things finished out against the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that you should have comfortably beat and were comfortably beating in this basketball game. But at the same time, a win is a win is a win in this league. And when you get guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. contributing, guys like Josh Richardson having a season-high 8 assists in what he did in this basketball game, you are excited about what you saw from certain players in this game. Tim Hardaway had 24 points in this basketball game, was one of 3 individuals who had over 20 points in this basketball game. Tim Hardaway with 24, Luka Doncic with 26, Kristaps Porzingis with 27, and then Josh Richardson with a season-high 8 assists poured in another 18 points. He was big in the fourth quarter to be able to help stretch the lead back out to 5 after Malik Beasley had cut the lead down to 3, was able to get a couple of buckets in the end, and then also a huge set of free throws at the end also to help close this thing out for the Dallas Mavericks. So again, learning how to win and being able to do so consistently throughout basketball games, and more so than anything, not taking your foot off the gas. That's what it felt like in the fourth quarter when the Dallas Mavericks defensively had some lapses. Yes, Malik Beasley hit some tough shots in that fourth quarter, but at the same time, the mental lapses that you saw in the fourth quarter are things that you have to eliminate if you're the Dallas Mavericks and want to find yourself getting back into this Western Conference playoff picture the way that you need to get an opportunity to try and at least be a talked-about team when it comes to making the playoffs, especially in a tough Western Conference. So, again, don't take too much from what you saw in that second and third quarter. It was about even. What you need to be concerned about is what obviously happened in the first quarter, the 43-22 lead that the Dallas Mavericks raced out with, and that what happened in the fourth quarter, nearly blowing a 25-point lead that they had at one point in this game by giving up 45 points to a hampered Minnesota Timberwolves basketball team that really had no business getting themselves back into this basketball game the way that they did. Those are my takeaways from this game. Obviously, a dominant first quarter by a guy in Kristaps Porzingis who put himself in terrific position to block shots, alter shots, provide rim protection, and more importantly, show the variety of offensive game. And more importantly for me, it seems like that knee is pretty healthy, the way that he was cutting, the way that he was driving to the basket, making off-balance layups. Those are the takeaways that I have from Kristaps Porzingis and his ability to have the kind of variety in his offensive game, is that his knee is healthy and he's wanting more and more and more to show that he can be the kind of player that the Mavericks will continue to depend on throughout the rest of this season. They're going to need him to put together performances like this, 20-10, and then you get the addition with the 6 block shots to be able to help this Mavericks team win this basketball game. So all in all, really good performance in the first quarter, kind of meh in the second and third quarter, not very good in the fourth quarter, as Rick Carlisle talked about after the game, with closing the game out. But look, in the NBA, a win is a win is a win, and you will take it if you are the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks welcome in Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks on Wednesday, looking to get another win to try and stretch this thing out to 4 out of 5 games as they win their third out of their last 4 games and their second straight win inside the American Airlines Center, getting a 127-122 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Kristaps Porzingis, the star of the game for the Dallas Mavericks, with those 27 points, those 6 block shots, the defensive player of the game, Luka, closing it out alongside Josh Richardson. Luka Doncic scoring 14 of those 26 points in the fourth quarter. Josh Richardson helping out with some big buckets down the stretch and some clutch free throws to seal it for the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks get back on the floor on Wednesday to take on the Atlanta Hawks and welcome in Trae Young. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to subscribe and hit that subscribe button for Kevin Gray Sports. This has been The Gray Area. We'll talk to you later. Peace.